right. I always do a toast. So toast, Josh. Joshua or Josh?
Josh.
Josh. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah.
Glad to have you. Excited for this conversation. So Josh Feagans, founder of Feagans Law Group.
So it's actually Feagans Law Group.
Feagans. Okay.
Feagans
I
Law
probably should
Group,
clarify that. Okay. Feagans. Wow, that threw me off. That's Irish, right?
It's Irish, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Irish, and whenever they came over, they had no idea how to spell or to pronounce things.
Right.
Here we are, Feagans Law Group.
Okay, cool. Very good. Appreciate the clarification. In November 2025, your law firm recovered $2,250,000 for your clients, which I don't know if that's a big month or a slow month or what it is. Is that a good month?
It's a good month. Yeah,
It's a good month.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money
It
recovered.
is.
Yeah. And obviously you're serving your clients, and I'm going to get into all this. So here's my thought process for this show. I want to get into your area of expertise, the personal injury. We'll go through some of that stuff because I think everyone has had that happen to them or will have that happen to them to some capacity. They'll touch that. Then I want to go over to the crossover skills that I think apply towards entrepreneurs, founders in general, just being in law. Like I could have seen myself in a previous life getting into law. Like
Sure.
There's some interesting traits and characteristics there. And I know it can be stressful at times too. And then we'll get into a little bit about your journey as a founder.
Sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Yeah,
Cool.
sounds good.
All right. So the first thing I noticed on your LinkedIn, which I appreciate, you're active on LinkedIn. You're posting a lot and sharing a lot of content, which I think is great, especially in that profession. You mentioned in law, we represent clients, not customers. What is the difference between a client and a customer?
So you have to understand, I think they're both, in the law, they're kind of both of the same thing, but we have clients, so they come to us for our professional judgment and wisdom. They're asking us to shepherd them through a situation. They're not asking to buy a product from us or even buy a necessary service. They don't really know what they need. They know they need our services to help them through the process. So unlike a regular businessman, I have obligations to them because I'm a lawyer to do what's in their best interests, more so than if you went to Walmart to buy a widget or a hammer at Home Depot or whatever the case might be. So when a client comes to us, we have to look at them in both as, okay, this is our client. We're going to shepherd them through this legal process, but they're also a customer in many respects. So they deserve customer service. They deserve feedback. They deserve information. They deserve guidance. All of that kind of stuff kind of get boiled down into one thing.
Because I hear those two terms being used interchangeably. And there's times certainly where I'm like working with the customer or even myself where I'm like, should I be using customer or clients? And to me, clients was always that, working through the problems, a little bit more high touch, a little bit more personalization, where a customer's like, you're coming into Graham's chocolate shop and you're getting an ice cream. And
I think that's a pretty good way to describe it, the difference, I would say. The customer might be one-off. They might be repeatable, but a client is someone that's with you for a period of time, I think, that you're doing a service for. You're guiding them through a process, whether it be law or marketing. It's the same, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So when should someone call you and what would they call you for?
Well, so right now our practice is pretty much 100% personal injury. We do automobile accidents, premises liability, so like slip and falls, that kind of thing, workplace accidents, product liability, medical malpractice, dog bites, that kind of thing. So you should call me after something bad happens to you, unfortunately, right? That's when I come in contact with most of my clients. You get into a car accident, you realize you've got some injuries, you go to the hospital, you go to the chiropractor, whatever. Same with a fall, same with a workplace accident, whatever. You call me pretty quickly afterwards. We start guiding you through the process of what is needed to get done to ultimately get you a recovery from an insurance company.
And why would they have to call a lawyer? Why wouldn't they just say, hey, I got in an accident, so-and-so's insurance is going to pay for the damage or whatever it is, or the dog bit our child? I imagine where this is going, but I'm curious to get your perspective.
It's a great question, and I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit, right?
Please, let's do it.
All right, so we all pay our monthly premiums to the insurance company, and we expect when we do that, the insurance company is going to be right there ready to protect us and resolve the things we make a mistake at, because that's what we have insurance. We're going to make a mistake somewhere down the road, and we don't want our personal assets to be implicated, attached, attacked, what have you. But the insurance company is there to take your money and keep it for profit. Right? That's what their job is. Their job is they have shareholders, they have a company, they're there to make a profit. So guess what they don't want to do? Pay your claim. And so it doesn't matter if you're the one making the claim because you injured yourself and you need to go to the doctor or you need your car fixed or whatever the case might be, or you injured someone else. They're still going to string out this process to try to keep as much money as possible. And you can go through the various statistics. There's been studies shown if you hire an attorney to prosecute your claim, you're likely to get 3, 4, 5 times more than if you did it yourself.
Yeah.
And that translates globally, really, on any type of claim. But more to the point, you don't understand the process. You don't understand whether I have to show you paid medical bills or I get credit for all my medical bills. You don't understand whether I can take PTO from work and still get paid my PTO time from the insurance company. You don't understand the nebulous nature of, okay, I have pain and suffering. How do I quantify that? I have lost a normal life. I haven't been able to bowl. I haven't been able to golf. I haven't been able to hold my grandchildren. How do I quantify that? So we come in and we try to quantify that the best we can, work with the insurance company to negotiate the claim. Now, when the insurance company doesn't want to pay a fair value, then we file suit. And I can give you all sorts of statistics about what happens after a lawsuit is filed. Insurance companies intentionally put adjusters on pre-suit claims that have low authority limits to shield them from ever offering fair value. So once a lawsuit happens and an attorney gets involved, because the insurance company hires an attorney for their insured also, right? An attorney looks at it and values it, and they also transfer it to a litigation adjuster who has higher limits. And so pre-suit versus post-suit results are drastically different. Last year, for instance, we settled about 55 claims. Pre-suit, the average claim value there was $23,000. Post-suit, we settled about 47 cases, and the average value was $39,000. Huge difference. I'm sorry. Those are my fees. So actually, you're talking about a difference of pre-suit case value in the 60s, post-suit case values like in the 120s, 130s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Because insurance companies probably see a lawyer get involved and they're like, shit.
Well, they know they have to take it serious, but not but not every lawyer.
Right.
So lawyers, there are a lot of different types of lawyers. There are real estate lawyers.
Yeah.
There's lawyers that handle estates and trusts. There's business litigators and IP lawyers and tax lawyers and everything else. A lot of lawyers dabble, and that's fine. They can do a competent job. If you see a lot of my LinkedIn posting is addressed at the concept that there are attorneys out there that refer cases to me. I want to help them with their clients who have personal injury claims.
Yeah.
And we work together to make that happen as a team necessarily. And so that's what LinkedIn for me is a little bit, trying to educate the people out there in my sphere about, hey, I'm here. I'm in the Fox Valley. I represent Fox Valley people. I'm here to help you.
Yeah, love it, man. Do you think the insurance model is broken? Because when you say that back to me, and that's how I see it, I wasn't shocked to hear that, but I hear a business model around pay somebody every single month. And then when I really, really need you, desperately need you, you're going to go, we're going to try to give you as little as possible, back up. And you're going to have to probably hire a lawyer to get what you actually deserve. That seems like a messed up business model.
It is a messed up business model. I don't have the answer to fix it.
Like, could you imagine doing that to our customers? Like being like, Jesus.
It would not work. I'll give you one more. So to even further compound this problem, in most car accidents, whether you're at fault or not, your rates will increase.
That's crazy.
Just from the very fact you're in a car accident.
So someone rear ends you, your rates are going to go up more than likely.
Indeed.
Crazy.
In our area, we have clients calling us, well, I don't want to make a claim, or I'm concerned that my rates are going to go up, or so-and-so's rates are going to go up. And the very fact that you were in the car accident to begin with, regardless of whether you make a claim or a claim is made against you, your rates are probably going up. And oftentimes it doesn't matter how much that claim is worth. It could be a $500 claim or a $500,000 claim. The rates are going to go up.
Now, why? I'm curious, not to go on a side tangent with insurance companies, but it seems like they make a ton of money. Like, why do they have to act like this to be profitable? Or do you think it's just greed? Or what do you think it is?
So it was once explained to me, insurance companies are the only business that always knows how to make money, because every year they set reserves. So you bring a claim in, they say, okay, we're going to set this money aside to pay this claim. They know exactly how much they're going to pay in most cases. Sometimes they're off, but in most cases they set the money aside. They know, okay, this claim is going to pay out in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. They have control of that, right? Generally speaking. So then in the coming years up to that claim, they can increase their rates across the board, across the country, on all the lines of insurance they're selling. They're always going to make a profit.
Right.
You don't ever hear about insurance companies losing money unless they really mess up and they go bankrupt. We've seen that in the past a little bit.
Makes you wonder if there's going to be a company or group of people that disrupts that industry. We'll see. They're fighting some giants, though. So
it would be interesting to see. But you're talking about the 500-pound gorillas in the room, right? 100%.
So what's the biggest mistake that people make after they get in an accident or have an incident happen to them?
Well, there are a couple, I would say, most prominently. One is they're overly confident initially after the accident that nothing's wrong with them. They're in shock. Their adrenaline's going. They haven't calmed down to kind of realize, okay, do I have really any aches and pains? A broken bone, a head laceration, something bleeding, those are all really easy to say, yes, I'm sick. I need to see a paramedic. I need to go to the doctor. But the majority of car accidents, for instance, you're talking about whiplash type injuries, right? Your head snaps back and forth and your adrenaline's pumping and swelling and all that stuff hasn't set in yet. It's usually later that night or when you wake up the next morning when you're really going to feel the effects of that. And so it's a lot of, well, I'm telling the police officer I'm fine, telling the paramedic I don't need to talk to the paramedic. Insurance companies love to make a lot of hay about, well, you didn't go to the hospital, did you? Well, most car accidents aren't not going to require a trip to the hospital.
Right.
You go to the hospital if you're in dire need, you're bleeding, something's broken, your life is being threatened. Neck pain, low back pain is not going to require a trip to the hospital. But again, the insurance companies like to look at that, right? So I wouldn't say not going to the hospital is the biggest issue, but being overconfident about how you're feeling immediately after an accident, that's probably number one. Number two,
so what should they do in that situation then?
They should be cautious. They shouldn't make any over declarative statements.
Okay.
Right?
Because they can use that in court and be like, "You after the accident, you said you were perfectly fine."
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Bring in
That's
the
where I thought you
police
were going.
officer. The
Yeah.
police officer writes in the report, did anyone
They were
report
skipping out of the place.
did anyone report any injuries to you? And the police officer says, no, they didn't. We're still, you get out, you check to make sure everyone else is okay. They ask you how you're doing. You ask them how they're doing. And you, of course, say, I'm fine because nothing hurts right then and there.
So what do you say? I'm not really sure. I need some time to assess. I'm just kind of shaken up with the whole thing.
Yeah, I think you just have to say, let's just make sure this all settles itself down. But
Right.
I'm, in that kind of thing, I would avoid declarative
Any
statements.
claims. Yeah.
That type of thing at that moment, unless you feel something immediately. So then you talk to the police officer, you talk to the paramedic, and say, I need some attention. Right.
Right.
I always tell my clients, you got to be truthful, right? But don't overshare information that's later going to hurt you. And again, oftentimes clients don't know in that instance. The moment they fall, the moment they get into a car accident, the moment something happens, they're not aware that there is a serious injury involved. We don't know if we herniate a disc. We can't see it. We don't really feel a herniated disc immediately, right? So those are challenging situations. But I always tell people to be cautious, be circumspect in how they describe things. If especially because you can tell when your heart's racing and your adrenaline's in it, right? You can tell. But the most important thing after that is just to seek medical attention immediately once you notice you have something wrong, right?
Now, do you need to? Do the cops need to be present there for it to be like official? Like if someone, a fender benders you, runs into your back of your car, and you don't call the cops, is that going to hurt your case later on?
It does not hurt your case later on. You should call the cops though, right? The cops may come out depending on the nature of the day, depending on where you're at. They might say, there's too many things going on. We can't reach you. The weather's bad. It's a high traffic area. You're on the interstate. Come in, pull off, come in to report the accident, that type of thing, right? There have been instances where we've had cases where no police report was ever filed for a variety of reasons. That does not impact your insurance claim. It makes it odd and awkward. The insurance company would be like, well, why wasn't there an insurance why wasn't there a police report filed? But it has no bearing on whether or not you're going to be able to make a claim later on.
Okay. Was there another couple points you're going to get to about what mistakes people make after an accident or incident? Maybe somebody your dog bites your kid or something like.
The biggest thing I see, so insurance companies are going to get your medical records and they're wanting to see continuity of care. So gaps in treatment, the decision to take a break in care, those can really impact you. But the biggest thing I see is clients who, guys particularly, it could be women though, but guys in particularly, when I see you on the street and I ask you how you're doing, you always say, I'm doing good. You might have a cast on your leg, but you're going to say, I'm doing good, bud. How you doing? And we do the exact same thing when we go to the doctor. I do it. You do it. All of my clients do it. I've got a messed up knee. I'm getting ready to go to surgery. How you doing, Jim? I'm doing great, Doc. How you doing? Right? Because he's not wanting to focus on what's the problem.
Totally.
But of course, you're there to the doctor to check out your knee because you're going to surgery in 2 weeks. So that, gaps in treatment, making sure you're accurate in how you describe your condition to your doctors, those are big things. Social media posting. Insurance companies, defense attorneys love to get on social media and talk about, well, you were sick, but you went on vacation, or you were hurt, but I see you partying at a nightclub, or believe it or not, I've had clients who literally are injured, have disc herniations, but are bodybuilders or something, and they're posting on social media from the gym because they just refuse not to engage in that activity.
Right.
Now, as an injury attorney, I can spin it, right? Okay, you can see he's got all these objective testings. He has a herniation. He has, muscle spasm and his neck straightened, which we call reverse lordosis. But he's still engaging these activities because he's refusing to give in to the pain. He's still going to work because he's refusing to give in to the pain. He's going to live his daily life, but he's getting treatment for it. You can spin it each different way, but it creates a narrative that you don't want to have to deal with if you don't have to.
Now, outside of just you get in an accident, let's say maybe you cause the accident, right? You make a mistake or something. What are the odds, or I guess what would be the next steps in terms of, yes, insurance companies, you want them to get pay for the claim, the injuries, the damages, but then you hear about like the lawsuits that go kind of way past that, where people get a lot of money in the settlement. What would dictate somebody getting more money than usual in a settlement?
So case value is dependent on several things. I call them anchors, right? Value anchors. The biggest anchor you're going to have typically is your medical bills. So in Illinois, you get to recover for the full amount of your medical bills regardless of what was actually paid. So as we know, health insurance comes in and they pay 30 or 40 cents on the dollar of each of your medical bills. Medicare comes in, they pay pennies on the dollar for your medical bills. Sometimes you don't have health insurance and you just have to take the medical bill. But in Illinois is a state that allows you to recover for the full value of your medical bills as long as the medical bills are reasonable and customary for the area, okay?
Let me ask you a quick question on that.
Yeah.
What if you get into an accident with somebody and they don't have insurance and they hit you and they don't have money?
Great question. So there's insurance coverage that you and I and everyone in Illinois has to possess called uninsured motorist coverage and underinsured motorist coverage. It's on your primary automobile policy and it might be on your umbrella policy, okay? And when you get hit by someone who does not have insurance, your insurance picks up the tab.
Oh.
So I actually counsel a lot of our clients after they come through. They show me they've got a $25,000, a $50,000, or $100,000 policy because in Illinois you can have a state minimum $25,000 policy. Insurance companies will write policies all the way up to $1 million or more depending on your circumstances. So we often see $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 policies. Those are the most common. And in Illinois, whatever your liability coverage is, your underinsured and uninsured motorist coverage is the same amount. All right. So you get into an accident, the guy that hits you does not have insurance, then you contact your insurance company and you say, I'm making an uninsured claim. One better. Guy hits you, he has a $25,000 policy, but you have a $250,000 policy. You make a claim on his 25, but you also contact your insurance company. You say, I have an underinsured claim to make with you because I broke my back in this accident and I have $150,000 in bills and 25 is not going to cover it. So your insurance won't pay the full $250. They'll pay $250 minus the 25 you got from the gentleman who hit you, and your total recovery can still be $250 or $100 or $50 or whatever the coverage limit is.
Interesting. Okay. Now, would you handle something like, do you remember, gosh, this was probably decades ago, that lady had hot coffee spilled on her at McDonald's in the drive-thru, and it was really hot coffee. I think they've lowered the temperatures now and put warning labels, but it was really hot, and she burned herself, and I think she got millions of dollars. Would you cover that type of stuff? If a company or they went to a restaurant, you slipped, they didn't have a sign, they mopped the floor, now all of a sudden you got a concussion or something. Do you cover stuff like that?
100%. Yeah. So we call that premises liability. You might call the coffee cup case more product liability a little bit. I don't have all the facts of the McDonald's case at hand, but the general facts of that case were McDonald's knew it was keeping the coffee too hot. They were doing it on purpose, okay? On top of, because their testing and their data indicated, and if I recall correctly, it's been a few years, that customers wanted the coffee piping hot. So they were going to make it as hot as possible so it stayed hot as long as possible as the customer was drinking it.
Right.
And in doing so, they created a dangerous condition. It never should have been that hot.
Okay.
Right? And so industry standards have evolved to make sure you don't get hot coffee any longer. So what's interesting about personal injury cases is that there's government regulation and then there's safety issues that slip through the cracks with consumers, with workplace accidents, with what have you. Do you know why most safety standards exist? Because someone got sued.
For sure. Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Someone got sued and had to pay a large judgment because their inability to recognize safety caused harm to someone.
Yep.
And so now industries have formed safety standards that prevent those things from happening in the future. You go into McDonald's, their coffee's not as hot any longer, right? There was another coffee case more recently in Florida with even larger numbers, I believe, and similar situation. The coffee was too hot, but also the lid was defective and it wasn't put on properly.
So where's the line drawn between you're stupid, you did something dumb that you should have known better, versus there was negligence by the company or the person, right, or whoever it is? Because you slip and fall in this hallway on the way to come shoot this podcast. It's like, how do we determine who's at fault, and do you have a case or not?
Great question. So first off, in Illinois, in many states, both people can be negligent, for instance, in many respects.
Yeah.
So the person that got injured can be negligent up to 50%, as long as someone else is negligent, and still recover, but he only recovers half of his damages. It's percentage based, right? So if a jury says you're 25% negligent, you recover 75% of your damages, so on and so forth. Each case, though, is so specific. You give me a walkway. In most instances, if someone fell on something, I will identify something someone did wrong. It's very rare that no one did anything wrong. Let's take a classic case. You go to a grocery store, there's grapes on the floor, all right? So I wonder, there's video footage, did they overstock the grapes, right? So that's the first thing I'm looking if I can get the video footage. Did they overstock the grapes?
What if they didn't?
If they didn't, then the next thing I'm looking at is, did someone working for the grocery store drop the grapes? Because if someone working for the grocery store dropped the grapes, they're responsible for picking them up. They don't always do that, right? So then the next thing I'm looking for is, if the grocery store guy didn't drop the grapes and a customer dropped the grapes, how long were the grapes sitting there, and did anyone walk past the grapes that could have picked them up?
Jeez.
Right? So it's nuanced,
There's gonna be some missing gaps there for sure.
Yeah, but again, department stores these days, grocery stores, they all have video.
Oh yeah, no,
all the time.
By missing
right?
gaps, I mean somebody walked by and probably didn't see it that worked for the store.
A lot
it
of
just
times.
Seems like, yeah.
A lot of times. And case law has developed too something that's called constructive notice. So policies and procedures, as people that frequent these places, we expect that the grocery stores, department stores, a gas station, whatever, are going to do things to make sure their store is safe for us to walk on. Right? We expect that, right? And so there's only so much time that can elapse before the law says you should have found it also.
Right.
So it varies in many instances, and it varies on the circumstances, 15, 20, 30 minutes, something of that nature. The nature of what's fallen, right, also impacts the perspective. But it's very nuanced.
Right.
But you go through that whole process. And so when someone comes to me and they say, they're embarrassed, I fell.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have fallen. Maybe you shouldn't have fallen, but maybe something caused you to fall, right? It's funny because in trial, defense attorneys working for insurance companies suggest to juries often that everyone should walk around all day looking at their feet where they're going. But no one walks around looking at their feet. And do you know why we don't, Alex?
Why?
We don't walk around looking at our feet because we've been conditioned that the businesses that invite us into their places are going to have clean, dry stores with walkways that are free of debris, free of things we can trip on, that are maintained in a way that are conducive for us to shop and spend as much money as possible.
Right.
That's the goal, right?
That's true.
And so we're conditioned for that.
Yeah.
And if there's not big signs, if there's not something alerting us that there's a hazard, our gaze is going to be focused on the things we're buying, the things we're doing, our thought process of what we're going to order when we go into the restaurant.
Yeah. And they're making that. They're making it that way too. They don't want you to look at the ground. They want you to look at the shelf display.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And so there are actually jury instructions when we get to trial that people like us have to go through. One of them might be that, I'm not going to paraphrase a little bit, but you have to be aware of open and obvious conditions. But that is supplemented by the fact that if there's a deliberate distraction, if someone's deliberately distracting you away from the ground to look at sale signs or products or whatever the case might be, those all counterbalance. So it's a wide array of things that you have to look at to determine, is this your fault or is it someone else's fault? The combination, who knows?
So before we bought our house now that we're in, we were renting a place, and they were like notorious for we would have ice on the driveway or the walkway, right? And you just would go 8, 10 hours without, it'd still be there. I mean, you come back from work, it'd still be there. If someone slipped on that, and I always said this, I was walking around like, if someone slips, and we had older people that lived near us in the community too, I was like, if someone slips on this, old, young, it doesn't really matter, but particularly I think you're more vulnerable if you're older, right? Someone slips on that, I bet they could probably sue that company, that landlord. Is that true or no?
Maybe that. So snow and ice is an interesting area of the law. We do a lot of snow and ice cases, and in Illinois, Chicago area, you see it a ton.
Right.
Just kind of depends on the year.
Yeah.
But in residential developments, in residential homes, in residential apartment complexes, there are some restrictions, there's some protections by statute that allow people to try to clear snow and ice from an area. But if they don't succeed so successfully, they're not going to be responsible unless there's a defect on the property. There's cracks in the driveway. There's areas of the driveway that pool. There's a downspout that goes over a walkway, and water comes down and refreezes on the sidewalk. Those different types of things. It gets more. There's also a rule in Illinois. It's called the natural accumulation rule. So essentially, whether you own a business or a residence, you're not going to be responsible for naturally falling snow or naturally accumulating ice. Again, presuming that there's no defect in the design or the maintenance of a property that's causing it to form that way.
Okay.
So where it gets tricky is, again, in Illinois, when it snows, we don't shut down. It's not like the South where it's a little bit of snow or a little bit of ice. Everyone stays home for 3 days. Yeah. In the middle of a snowstorm, the stores are open and we're still shopping. We're still getting our gas. We're still taking our kids to Taekwondo, whatever the case might be. And so we've developed a system where in Illinois, we hire snow removal contractors. So especially on commercial properties, apartment complexes and the like, there are going to be contracts which require these snow and ice removal contractors to come in and take steps to pre-treat, treat afterwards, any refreezing of the property. And so you know what we find? Because a lot of times these people are paid not per visit, but per month. They want to have as least amount of touches on a property as possible. So they might not pre-treat, they might treat late, and they don't go back to make sure that the piles of snow don't melt and form puddles or that things haven't refrozen. And the refreezing is the biggest problem because that's where black ice comes from, right? We don't get black ice from like chunks of snow that form ice, and you can see this big chunk of ice. The black ice happens from freezing rain, but also refreezing.
So a lot of this is obviously subjective, I imagine, when you get to court. There's certain things that are black and white, but there's certain things like you kind of prove, your side or your angle or what happened, what didn't. Does it all come down to how good the lawyer is then in terms of who wins the case? Or obviously there's the evidence, but it seems like a lot of this is like, man, are you better than the other guy or gal that's got to defend their case?
Ultimately, I think the facts play a huge role in how the case is going to develop. And with the right facts, a better attorney is going to develop a better case.
That's right.
And so, yes, in a large degree, the outcome is determinative on the skill of the lawyer, but not so far as winning. But there's no one case with one value. The same person could have the same set of facts and have relatively the same amount of medical bills, the same condition, the same loss of normal life and everything else. You have two attorneys and two different people, and you're likely to have two different jury outcomes. Why is that? Well, the jury might like one attorney over the other. The jury might like one plaintiff over the other, one injured person over the other. It is a bit of a personality contest.
Yeah.
You might also have a different collection of jurors. There are 12 people sitting in this box that are going to decide the fate of your client. And those 12 people are not the same 12 people every time. There's a new set of 12 people that come with different predispositions, different thoughts, different processes. They're from life experiences. They're from different areas. I'll give you one example, and I always learn something. Every time I pick a jury, I learn something different. Yeah. But when I was younger, I picked a jury in Kane County. This was back in 2013 or 2014. And I selected a nice young man who was a juror, and he'd been in a terrible accident as a young man working on a farm. And I thought, well, this is wonderful. He's going to be sympathetic to my client, and he's going to understand the pain and the suffering she's gone through. Well, after we won, it was a good verdict. But afterwards, you're able to speak with the jurors. And this young man came back and told me he wanted to give my client way less money than we actually got, certainly much less than we actually asked for. So I asked him why. What was your perspective? He said, well, my injury was worse than hers, and I got less money.
Ooh, that's interesting. Wow.
It is interesting. And I went into it. He also didn't understand the nuance. He had a workers' compensation claim versus what we call a third-party injury, so an injury in court. Workers' compensation claims are settled on a schedule. You have a certain amount of money available based upon your age, based upon your injury. You fit into a schedule, right? There's no schedule for the cases we tried. There's no schedule for a car accident or a slip and fall or a construction site accident. It's economic. It's anchors that drive the value. So like I said, anchors could be economic in nature, medical bills. They could be the severity of your injury. They could be the impact to your life. Sometimes anchors become the nature of the injury itself. The injury is so outlandish, the safety failure is so egregious that it stokes the anger of the jury and that drives up value.
As a lawyer, have you ever turned down a case that could have been lucrative, but it just didn't feel right, or you didn't believe in it, or something was off?
Yes. And as a matter of fact, I just had to let a client go this week. It's a wonderful case, a good family. They just were not responsive to us. And in our line of work, many people don't know this, so we work on contingency fee, which means you don't pay me anything ever.
Until you win, unless you win.
Unless I win, and then I take a
Wow.
portion of the settlement.
And
But
if we lose, you don't get paid anything?
I don't get paid anything.
Wow.
Not worse yet, but just another nuance there is I cover all the costs going along the way. And if I lose, I eat the costs.
I don't think a lot of people know that. That's good education right there.
I don't
Like,
think
why would you not call you then?
Well, exactly right.
I would call you every time.
I think you're correct. About half the people that call us don't understand the process, or I would say more than half don't understand the process. But even then, most don't understand that, we cover the costs also. They're concerned that more money's coming out of their pocket.
Right. It's kind of like recruiters. I did recruiting for 6 years. A lot of people, the companies pay you, but from a candidate standpoint, you don't pay anything. You're headhunting on their behalf for free. It's all, everything's covered. And then you have all the upfront costs. And from a company standpoint, if you do direct placement, that company only pays you if you hire the person and place them at the company, unless you're doing a different model. So it's a lot of front end work on your end. But I think it also incentivizes you to want to do a good job and win the case. Because if not, you're not going to eat.
I think it does. Now, attorneys have to be cautious too, because you can't overestimate the value of a case. You have to be able to value the case appropriately. But there's also the flip side. Some firms undervalue the case to turn it quickly because they don't want to put work onto it, right? So they say, well, this case might be worth $200,000, but I know I can settle it quick for $100,000, so I'm going to do that.
Oh.
And the client often doesn't know the difference.
No.
The beauty part about when we do our work right is we make sure your medical bills are cleared. I mean, zero owed. We pay back anyone who's owed money. Sometimes your health insurance company has a lien, that kind of thing. You get paid, and we cover all of our costs and expenses, and of course our fee. So it's a wonderful situation from that service standpoint. Another reason why you probably shouldn't try to go it alone, because you're never going to have a full understanding of how to clear all your medical bills and how to reduce those figures.
Yeah.
On our average case, we reduce medical liens and medical bills by more than 50%. So you go from owing X to Y. It's a huge jump.
Yeah.
Right?
There's something about just having a presence of a good lawyer that just makes you feel Eddie. Like this, they're going to come in and they're going to make sure shit's taken care of. Yeah.
It's funny too, because we have a lot of repeat clients.
Yeah.
A lot of people come back to us, and oftentimes not just for their injury thing, injury issue.
Right.
Maybe a family member gets hurt, a friend gets hurt, they refer us. But I get a lot of emails with just me on the carbon copy line. Someone complaining about something. My lawyer's carbon copied, and he's gonna look into this if you don't help me or X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
and that's fine. That's wonderful.
No, totally.
I'm thrilled that they're still remembering me.
Yeah,
and I'm their lawyer, right?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's just the authority of I know someone that understands this at a deep level and could support me.
Yeah.
My dad was a cop. I'd sometimes be like, my dad's a state police officer. It's the same shit. It's
100%.
So you mentioned walking into the courtroom, and you got to kind of get the jurors. It's helpful if you can get them to like you. It's helpful if they like the person that's going through the litigation. And this reminds me of some of the crossover skills that I wanted to get to. That's what I think is so cool about being a lawyer is you have sales, influence, probably some marketing, some psychology. What is the key to getting people to like you as fast as possible in your cases?
Authentically connecting with them, right?
Oh.
Well, so I'm naturally, I joke around a little bit. I mean, some people view me as rough and gruff and this, that, and the other, and I can be if I need to be. I can get tough. But I've learned that the best way to connect with people, whether it's clients, jurors, insurance companies, defense attorneys, judges, is to be a little affable. Make a joke here and there. Show them that it's not all steel and metal, that kind of thing, right? And so when I'm picking a jury, for instance, I'll have conversations with them. I'll ask them not just about their background and the information, but if they're talking about soccer or this, that, and the other, I'll share, some experiences with my kids about soccer or this, that, and the other. Try to make jokes, try to connect with them, try to let them understand that, I'm a good guy. And you did it right when the other side strikes that juror immediately.
Oh.
right? So because you only
They're like, get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. I don't want
You're
you.
best friends with this guy already. I don't like it.
So every attorney,
That's
when you're
funny.
picking a jury, gets challenges. So you can have
Right.
so many challenges, right?
Right.
And you can tell when you've gone too far and connected too much because they're going to kick that juror pretty quick, right? But no, and I do the same thing with clients. You try to understand what they're about. You try to
Yeah.
give them a little piece of you.
Right.
You try to, of course, you assure them, give them confidence in the process, but also you learn about their family. You try
Yeah.
to have some humor. You try to connect, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think authentically connecting with anyone is the best way to go. And people know when you're being phony. You can't,
Yes. You can't overdo it. Yeah.
And if I'm in a 2-week trial, if I'm phony when I'm connecting with you, they're going to see it at some point in time. They're going to see I'm a jerk. They're going to see I'm boring. They're going to see I'm whatever the case might be. So if I'm not being me, you're going to see it at some point and you're going to lose trust in me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you just want to avoid, to your point, you want to avoid being the guy or gal where people are just like, I just don't like that guy or that girl.
100%.
Something about them just fucking rubs me the wrong way.
100%.
You definitely don't want to be that, right?
You do not want to be
Yeah.
that guy. There's very few times the jury is going to find for the client in spite of the attorney.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they might give him something, him or her something, but they're not going to go out of their way to help a client in spite of the attorney.
Right. Yeah. What else have you learned that's been good transferable skills, in terms of influencing people? Like, how do you influence people? How do you persuade a group of people? Is there anything else that you think is good transferable skills for a lot of the founders, entrepreneurs listening?
So I think when I'm talking with a client, when I'm trying to onboard a client or get them to go with us, or along the way when I'm talking to them about, okay, this is the settlement offer, we need to file suit, here's why, or we're going to take the settlement offer, we need to go to trial, I have to give them as much information as possible. So I view my job both as guiding them in a direction, but also informing them and teaching them as much about the process. And they don't know. They have no perspective, right?
Right.
So the more times I can give them accurate information that pans out, the more trust that's built. And the more trust that's built, the more likelihood we're going to have a success down the line, one way or the other. Because they're going to agree or they're going to take my lead on different scenarios that might be challenging for them to understand. But each time it works and they do it and it pans out and we succeed globally or in that instance, right, they have trust and confidence. I think that is the same for business as well. I try to be transparent with my employees.
Same.
I try to be transparent with my vendors. I try to be transparent with everyone around me. I work with my competitors a lot. We share information. We share strategies.
That's
share.
interesting. Do you ever try to get in your competitor's head though?
Never, really.
Okay.
I don't. I really respect a lot of the guys around us, and even the guys that are from the Chicago area or coming from downstate or out of state or whatever the case might be. They've all done something unique, and we're all kind of fighting for the same thing. We're trying to fight to help people ultimately. I mean, there are some people that are doing it the wrong way. There's no doubt about that. Some people who aren't working up cases, aren't giving clients the right attention. Ultimately, I don't have to be antagonistic to those people. The market's going to factor that out.
Yeah.
We get a lot of clients that come to us as their second or third attorney because they went with this big firm downtown or this powerhouse firm or X, Y, and Z. They never got the attention they wanted, or they weren't getting, something they needed. And so they came to us, and we provided it to them.
You probably see some lawyers where you're like, oh, thank God it's them on the case. And then you probably see other ones where like, this is going to be a tough one. Is that right or no?
No,
Really?
not really. I would rather have a competent defense attorney on the other side that can evaluate the case and is going to evoke confidence with the insurance company that he is right or wrong than someone who's incompetent and does not know how to value a case, does not know how to work it up, X, Y, and Z. I mean, I want proper evaluations. I want to have a cooperative working relationship with the insurance defense attorney and the insurance company because ultimately I'm trying to sell them on my case.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm trying to say, hey, I think this case is worth this. Tell me why not. And if we can't figure out a way for me to convince you, what else do I need to give you, for instance, then let's figure out what the value should be and see if we can make a go of it. And if not, then we're going to go to trial. That kind of thing. Yeah. But when you get someone who's obstructive, incompetent, unnecessarily argumentative. It has
you run into that?
Yes, you do. Has a mentality that they're just going to go all out and not cooperate. It's a frustrating process. It makes every time you talk to that person, every time you're in court together, every deposition, every interaction frustrating. And you ultimately know that the end game is not working cooperatively with them to resolve it. Right. It's trial, which is fine too.
But there's got to be a certain level of, assuming everyone is competent and ethical, there's got to be a certain level of sizing people up.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I think you size people up.
Yeah,
Certainly.
I think we just naturally do that, right? You go
do.
and you're like, I got this. Like, I'm going to over-prepare this person, or I know they're kind of their weak spot or whatever it is, right?
100%. So as a plaintiff's attorney, you're going to have a lot of frequent flyers on the defense side, so you know how to work with them. And then when you have a new attorney, then you go to your colleagues and you be like, anyone worked with this person? What do they? How do they like to do this? How do they like to do that? Interesting, right? As a young attorney, I worked on the defense insurance side. I did construction negligence claims for construction companies for like 7 or 8 years. And I remember when we had to report information to the insurance company, every time we would report, it would be an update on plaintiff's counsel. How good is plaintiff's counsel? What are his recent results? What has he been doing? How is he working this case? How do I think he's going to appear at trial? How do I think he's going to perform at trial? So everyone's doing it on both sides, right?
Now, if you see someone that's super green, super young, is that kind of like, as a seasoned pro, is that kind of like, all right, it's feasting time?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
It's, a couple things. One is, we were all there at some point in time. You don't want to take advantage of it because at some point in time, someone's going to see that transcript and they're going to think a little less of you, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to give them any breaks necessarily.
That's what I mean.
But I'm not going to try to take advantage of them. I'll give you an example. When I was a young attorney, there were a lot of older attorneys that thought it would be fun just to object to everything you say at a deposition. So after every question, objection, argumentative, objection, compound, objection, leading, objection, every question, just to disrupt the deposition and try to throw you off. It's not conducive to trying to make the case move forward. It's frustrating, and young attorneys didn't know how to handle it. Now, I think by and large, that's been kind of worked out of the industry. I don't see it as much these days, but it happened, and it's it's unprofessional, it's unethical, and it just doesn't do anyone any good. It doesn't do your client any good. It doesn't do you any good. If you are preventing your client from answering questions at a deposition, you have no idea what that client's actually going to say at trial, how they're going to hold up to scrutiny, or what information they really have to give.
Right. Yeah, for sure. You mentioned in a LinkedIn post, one of the hardest habits for witnesses to break in a deposition, speaking of that, is the urge to fill silence. You say in everyday conversation, silence feels awkward. We instinctively explain, clarify, or add detail to keep things moving. In a deposition, that instinct can create real problems. Can you explain a little bit more about that? Because I think that's interesting from a sales perspective too. And a lot of even on podcasts, there's times where you can just pause for a second and it's okay.
100%.
Some people feel they have to constantly keep it going.
Well, we're used to that, right? We don't want those awkward pauses because we want people to be engaged with us. But people have to understand in a deposition, your job is not to engage with the other side. Your job is to answer their questions. Only the questions they ask, by the way. So I'll give you some examples, right? When I'm prepping a witness for a deposition, I might talk to them about this in this context. So I'll say, okay, so when someone asks you, can you tell me what color the light was? What's your answer? The light was green, Josh. No, the answer is yes or no.
Green.
Can you?
Oh, can you tell me the color?
Can you tell me the color?
Yes.
It's yes or no answer.
What was the color? Green.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly
no
right.
more, no less. Yeah.
So then I go one step forward. They say, can you tell me the color of the light? It was green. And then he doesn't ask another question, and you pause. And you pause. And you're like, oh, but your client said this, and then this happened, and then my husband came over, and someone said that we should have all done this or X, Y, and Z. And so everything you say after that is going to require them to ask follow-up questions, to go down these rabbit holes. Yeah. And we don't know where those rabbit holes are always going to go. You only answer the question that's asked. Don't offer any additional information beyond the truth that answers that question.
And you got to role play it probably, right?
100%.
I would for sure.
Yeah, you do role play it, and you go through the most critical parts of each deposition. There will be times everyone gets surprised about a question. It happens all the time. It's not because there's lack of preparation. It's just because no one thinks something's relevant, and then a question gets asked, and the client answers it in a way you're not expecting, and we start going down a rabbit hole.
Now, couldn't they pause and just say, let me talk to my lawyer, or no?
No, you can't, because that's coaching a witness, right?
Oh.
So one of the rules we have in most depositions is we can take breaks, but not if a question is pending.
Oh, okay. You got to answer the question first.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, that's more.
Otherwise, it might as well just be you answering the questions.
Exactly right. Yeah. I was in a deposition 3 weeks ago, and literally every question that was asked, the witness turned to her attorney before she answered, just to make sure, because she didn't want to answer it, right? She was looking for coaching, and the attorney, to her credit, did not coach her, but she was just so unsure of how to answer. So, and that was on videotape. So that's going to be showed to a jury at some point in time, possibly, and they're going to see this woman every time she's asked a question looking at her attorney for guidance, and That's not going to come across very well. So you want to be authentic in the deposition.
Yeah.
You want to answer it truthfully, but you don't want to offer details that don't need to be offered, and you don't want to be. You're not really in control. You're there just to answer questions. So sometimes it might take some time to organize thoughts for the next question. Don't worry about filling the space. Creates more problems.
What's the best way to get the truth out of somebody? Have you learned anything about that?
Well,
With obviously being ethical, but just have you learned like these are methods you might use?
it's an interesting question. I'm not, from my clients, I expect them to tell me the truth.
Right.
And I'm getting information other than from them. I'm getting information from other witnesses. I'm getting information from their doctors and medical records. I'm talking to their families.
Right.
I'm talking to the police officer. I'm talking to the opposing counsel.
Now, can they tell you anything and then you can't, like, let's say, and I know you don't handle these cases, but let's say somebody killed someone and the lawyer's like, did you kill him? Like, yeah, I definitely did. But we're not going to say that, obviously.
If I represent you, I am
can't say
bound
anything.
to not say anything to anyone about that situation.
I always wondered if, like, the defense attorney, like, in those cases, if they really told them what happened, maybe they knew and they're still trying to fight their battle, which is kind of...
Well, from a criminal law standpoint,
Right.
now I've never done criminal law,
Right.
so I'll just tell you what I've been told and what we were taught in law school and so on and so forth. But from a criminal law standpoint, that's 100% correct. If someone tells you they did it, then you can't tell anyone, but you also can't let them perjure themselves. So your trial is limited in how you can present it because now you know that they affirmatively did the bad thing. So most criminal defense attorneys will not ask their client if they did it.
Okay.
Murder,
And they'll tell them, don't tell me,
theft,
I don't want to know.
whatever. They don't want to know whether they did it or not.
Now, would you have a problem representing somebody if they did a heinous crime and they told you, I did it. I did something terrible. I murdered an innocent person, whatever it is.
So I personally would, but that's why I'm not a criminal defense attorney.
I would too. I couldn't do it. I just, and there's got to be people that do it, I guess, because you're innocent until proven guilty. So you need people to have defenses, but I just couldn't do that.
So the people that do it live by a thought process or a mantra that we're taught in law school also, right? That everyone's entitled to a defense.
Yeah.
That even if you did something heinous, that the other side is required to prove their case against you, and you're entitled to a presumption of innocence, and you're entitled to a defense. And that attorney is there as the guard post to make sure all those procedural hurdles are jumped through so that the jury comes back with a fair verdict, right? And that's their job. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they're adamant about it. Sometimes they get people off, sometimes they don't. It was funny. My wife just sent me a Facebook post a couple days ago or so about a lawyer who was advertising on a billboard. That said, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty, right? So,
have you talked to OJ, for example?
yeah, exactly right. So, I mean, I think what criminal defense attorneys do is amazing. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have a bad view of them in many respects, but they serve a purpose.
I get that now. Makes sense. They see it through a different lens because you have to kind of morally come to terms with probably some of the things that you're doing, I would imagine. So we do got a couple questions from the Founder Talk group. So I'll ask you this. We have a community of other founders, and mostly in the area, and I ask questions to them. I say, hey, I'm having on these guests. Here's what they do. Here's their background. Do you have any questions for them? First one I got was, what's your most successful marketing strategy? And how do you use social media? Obviously, I know you use LinkedIn, so there's that. And I'm curious too, do people, you mentioned people come to you when they have a problem. So how do you kind of market proactively?
So it's interesting. We've tried a variety of marketing strategies, but we're in a situation where we want our clients to live in the Fox Valley.
Yeah.
So they could be hurt anywhere. They could be hurt in New York. They could be hurt in Chicago. They could be hurt downstate. But our prototypical client, our ideal client, lives in the Fox Valley. And we've tried a number of different ways to market to those people. Social media, we've tried internet leads, SEO, we've tried lead generation companies, we've tried all of that. The most effective way to market to someone in the Fox Valley is community branding that provides referral-based clients.
Yes.
Most people in the Fox Valley want someone in their sphere to tell you that this is the attorney you should use, this is the accountant you should use, this is the dentist you should go to.
Yep.
And that's been our most successful strategy. It's what we started with doing 12 years ago, getting out in the community, getting our name out there, branding ourselves, knowing people, and that's had the most bang for its buck, so to speak.
Love that.
And so we've tried other avenues. We've gone heavy into SEO. We've done PPCs and LSAs. We've dabbled on social media. We're going to try some more of that. I'm obviously engaged in LinkedIn, which is a different type of marketing. I'm looking for attorneys to refer me cases as opposed to people saying, hey, that's Josh, I need to hire him.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that referral network, right?
Sure,
I'm
yeah.
looking for the attorney or the accountant or the dentist that says, well, there's a guy on my LinkedIn page. He's a really competent attorney. You should call him.
Yeah.
Right? Or the attorneys who have those cases as well.
Yeah.
But I think the most successful thing we've done is brand ourselves within the community in the Fox Valley and get those referrals.
I think it's one of the most underrated things that most companies aren't doing, especially in this area, but I think in general. And I think it comes back to just relationship building and trust, is really what it is. But for me, when I started my business, and I want to get into yours, because you started yours in 2020, right? You left the law firms and started your own firm in 2020. Obviously, you've been practicing law much longer than that. But when I started, everything was so virtual. And it was right in the middle of COVID, too. So it was like all LinkedIn, all video, YouTube, whatever it might be. And then as I kind of got a few years into it, I was like, man, I need to build like a local presence and a community and build real relationships. And that's part of the reason why a year and a half ago I started this podcast. I was like, I want to talk to people and have deep conversations and get to know people. And I think it matters. I think it's big time. The other question was, you have a lot of competitors. Obviously, your space is very noisy. So how do you separate yourself in a very crowded market where people do a lot of the same things that you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So a couple things. One is, again, we want clients that live just in the Fox Valley. So most people that are marketing for personal injury cases in Chicago are marketing throughout Chicago, throughout Illinois, throughout maybe many states.
Yeah.
And they're looking mostly for automobile cases because they're the easiest to turn over. They're the easiest to identify who's responsible, and there's a guaranteed policy behind it, and so on and so forth. So it's not that they're not going to take a premises liability case or a slip and fall or a workplace accident or something like that, but they're actively marketing for automobile cases. So we do market for automobile cases, but we've been more successful with premises liability cases, construction negligence cases, other workplace accidents, products liability cases. So again, the differentiator there being we're your local attorney in the Fox Valley. We have this experience. We have this brand reputation. Come work with us. We're going to give you a lot of personal attention also. If you look at our website and our LinkedIn posts, we talk about concierge level service.
Yeah.
That's not fluff. We work with you to make sure you have proper medical treatment. We coordinate with your doctors. If you need litigation funding, we have the companies that can handle that. We can set you up with a state's a trust attorney. We create a trust if you have children that are going to be involved in the situation. All these different types of things. We have the net connections and the network to give you a full experience, so to speak. And so we spend a lot of time with our clients. My wife's an attorney. She's my partner.
That's all that.
And she is on the phone from 7 a.m. to about 9:30 each night talking to people. Insurance companies, doctors, attorneys, clients, everyone in between. She never stops talking to people. And it's always about giving them a little bit of information, assuring them what they're doing is accurate, assuring them that, hey, it's okay. We know that the physical therapy is not working out. We'll get you in with this doctor or that doctor to give you an evaluation to see if something more is needed, right? And so that's hugely important. It's our job to make, these people have never gone through accidents before.
Yeah.
They might have gone to a doctor because they had a broken foot or a sprained ankle or whatever the case might be, but they didn't have that injury in a car accident or a slip and fall or whatever the case might be. It's an entirely different process. You have to get all the medical treatment rounded out and know what's wrong with you so you can pursue your claim. It can't fester for years and years and years and years. And once we make a settlement, that's it. There's no going back to the well.
Yeah. What made you guys want to start your own business then?
Yeah, so Katie and I were both downtown when we were younger attorneys, both working insurance defense. We came out to the suburbs into the St. Charles area about 2013. Katie was staying home with the kids, and I was joining a business litigation firm as a litigation partner. And, I had the personal injury background, but I didn't have a large book of business, a large stack of cases. So I started at that firm mostly doing business litigation, some business counseling. We had like 4 or 5 injury cases lying around. I picked them up. We did really, really well on them, really well. A couple of years later, I built that to like 30 or 40 cases, and Katie came back from staying at home with the kids. She started working them up. Fast forward 5 years, at the end of 2019, we'd built up a pretty substantial base of clients. We've been doing really well with the injury work, and our model didn't really fit the business litigation model because that's an hourly model, and we weren't really hourly. We were not contingency fee, right? We'd have big months, small months, that kind of thing in between. And so we kind of looked at each other and we said, it's time to start our own thing. It's time to see what we can do with this. And so we left. Now, when we left, we didn't know that COVID was going to happen. And we literally opened our doors on March 1st of 2020.
Oh my gosh.
So 2 weeks later, of course, the world shuts down. But we made it through it, and here we are.
That's wild, man. What's it like working with your wife?
Well, she and I both say about 95, 96% of the time it's great. And the other 4 or 5% of the time it's what it is, right? So, we think alike, we complement each other really, really well, and we fill in the gaps, which is wonderful. She does our pre-litigation stuff, so she brings in the cases, she works them up, tries to resolve them, and then when they go to lawsuit, they go under my desk, and we have 9 staff members otherwise that help us with that. But disputes at home or disputes at the office carry over both ways, right? And sometimes you can't leave the problem with the kids at home when both of you are at the office. Right. So there are some problems, but I think the best thing that I enjoy is that we're a team. We got each other's back. And while we might not always agree with each other or the situation in private, when we're in public, we're a team. So that's awesome. You'll never have a better partner than your wife or your spouse. In business. Right?
I don't think so. So if you're out to dinner, you and your wife, how much are you talking about business and
way too much? Way too much.
Is it necessary? If it's all of the conversation, maybe not, but it's kind of like, I don't know, especially when you own your own business, you like want to talk about, you're excited about it. It's what you're passionate about. There are other things, of course, what you're doing and maybe travels, hobbies, but you do want to talk about it a lot. And sometimes it's frustrating when you're around friends or relationships or partners that they don't have that shared passion. And it's like, they don't get it. You know what I mean?
I agree with that 100%. So we have a lot of friends that are also personal injury attorneys, so it helps. Other attorneys as well. A lot of professional friends who have their own businesses. So, not everything is exactly the same, but a lot of things are transferable. But I agree with you. We enjoy being with one another, or else it wouldn't have worked. And, both in our marriage and in our business. But when we go to dinner, when we go on vacation, when we do X, Y, and Z, a lot of the conversation is, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? And it's great from a conversational standpoint. It's great from a connection standpoint. But I guess to your point, I think we probably do talk about it too much, but what else would we talk about? I don't know.
Yeah.
The kids, of course, but what else?
I'm asking you a local question. Local people will appreciate this. Non-local, it won't resonate. But if you have one restaurant to pick in Geneva, where do you go? Geneva, Illinois.
I love Niche in Geneva.
Really?
Yeah. Their bourbon selection is spectacular, and they've got very unique food items usually. Niche.
What about St. Charles?
Oh, that's a good question. I love Zaza's.
Zaza's good?
Yeah, I love Zaza's.
We were disappointed that Shaku is not there anymore, because that was like our good Japanese steakhouse. But Giamia is good?
Giamia is good.
Altar's good for some burgers.
Altar's good. Yeah. And of course, you can't forget Graceful Ordinary.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing.
That's a good spot.
But
glad you said that one.
From just a nice sit-down restaurant that Italian, the food's spectacular, and you don't. Zaza's is spot on.
Yep. So you last question here is, you made a post on LinkedIn again here about your teenage son is approaching 16, maybe he is 16 now, and he needs less parenting and more trust. I read this and I was interested because I have 2 daughters, 12 and 9, so not quite 16, but they'll be there in a few years. You said for years the job was clear, provide answers, set guardrails, correct course early, but that phase is fading. What he needs now isn't constant direction, it's space. Space to make decisions, space to make mistakes, and space to feel the weight of the outcome, with the assurance that there's a safe place to land afterwards. We have mostly parents listening to this show. Can you expand upon that a little bit and what that transition has been like for you?
So first off, I'll say we have a unique situation where we have 2 lawyers raising 3 kids. So they naturally think and act like lawyers. They are all young leaders. And it's been tremendously difficult to parent them because they all are very vocal about what they want. They have thoughts and ideas about how to back that up. And it's been very, very challenging, right?
How old are you, 16? And
Well, so my oldest will be 16 March 9th.
Okay.
I've got a daughter will turn 13 April 10th. And then I got a 10-year-old boy. So
cool.
Boy, girl, boy.
Okay.
They're all very smart. They're all very intelligent. They're all very direct. They're extremely communicative. I'm very proud of all of them.
Yeah.
But of course, they're all in different seasons. They all need different things. So my oldest son is at that point where he's trying to break away. It's not dad knows everything anymore. It's like, dad, stop discounting what I know. I want to be my own man. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it's the right time for that. He should be breaking away. right? At this point in time, dad's not the answer to everything. He needs to start developing the answers. So just like when we were young, learning how to do our business or our practice law or learning anything, we have to be given opportunities to succeed. And more importantly, we have to fail. You learn more in that failure than you do in the success.
So true.
And so what I've learned over the last several months as he's transitioning now to becoming a driver and doing a variety of different things is that he's pushing me away. He doesn't want me involved anymore. He's not going downstairs to play pool with me every night. He's not sitting down with me as much.
It's sad though, a little bit. I mean, even though he's going to a new phase, it's like,
It is sad. And it is sad, but it's exciting too.
Yes.
Because now I've got a young man who's 6'1" and 230, and he likes to think that he's stronger than I am, although he's not, and all these different types of things. But he is growing and he's maturing, and he's making a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
And I had this urge initially for every mistake to jump in and fix it. Well, that's a mistake.
Yes.
Right? And I'm still learning as a parent, as a person, as a leader.
Totally.
So now I came to the realization, or I've come to the realization over the last several months, I got to give him space. He's going to make a ton of mistakes. I made a ton of mistakes. He's going to learn from them, and he's going to eventually develop. And so far as I'm told, by the time he's 25 or 30, he'll start to think I'm smart again. So
that's pretty much how it goes. They all come back. They always come back if you do a good job.
That's the goal. Have them come back,
You know?
right?
Yeah.
And he likes me still. We still enjoy one another's company,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want me to sit him down and tell him everything he's doing right or wrong.
Yeah.
He doesn't want me to tell him, you should do it this way or you should do it that way. He wants to figure it out on his own.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah, it is a bittersweet moment. They're growing up, the butterflies coming out of the cocoon, but you also miss the cocoon a little bit too, because that was a nice phase as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, he's way too big for the cocoon these days, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, Josh, I appreciate you coming on the show. This was an awesome conversation. Where can people get in touch with you, connect with you, learn more about what you guys do?
Yeah. So reach out to us on our website, www.feaganslawgroup.com. You can also call us at the office. It's 630-JUSTICE.
Cool,
630-JUSTICE. And reach out to me, Josh at Feagans Law Group. Josh at Feagans Law Group. So,
Cool.
yeah.
We'll link everything up in the description. And again, appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks.